A very good afternoon once again from the sports desk. Cape Town Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis says he's excited to invite teams and spectators to the 8th edition of the Rugby World Cup Sevens tournament. More than 100,000 fans are expected to descend on the stadium as the world's top men and women battle it out for the trophy. Vaylen Kirtley is down in the mother city and had a chance to talk to the mayor.
Over the next 3 days for the Rugby World Cup Sevens, they're expecting over 160,000 spectators at the Cape Town Stadium. There are still tickets available, and they start at 150 Rand on Friday, and then they go up all the way to 1,500 Rand for some of the more premier seats. This is a massive event for the city, and when it comes to sporting events showing off the best side of the city, that's certainly what has been the case in Cape Town. Joining me is the City Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis. A very good afternoon. Welcome to Newzroom Africa once again. You and I have spoken, I must say, more often than not, and purely about sport, because this has been the vehicle that's really been driving people back to the city, hasn't it?
It really has, and it's just so lovely to see Cape Town bringing back these giant sporting events, truly global sporting events again. So you really do feel the Sevens fever starting to build up in the city ahead of the weekend, and we're just looking forward to hosting a great World Cup.
How much money does the city commit to this project?
Actually, a very small amount. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands, and mainly spent on providing traffic services and free bus rides and so on for fans. There's always a bit of cost that goes into that, but really this is mainly organised by World Rugby, by South African Rugby, by the stadium, and it is of huge benefit to the city, with tens of thousands of people coming to the city over the weekend to spend time here and enjoy the rugby.
What is that economic benefit?
Well, when you've got 160,000 people at the stadium over the course of one weekend, you can bet that every restaurant will be packed, every hotel will be packed in Cape Town, every Airbnb will be sold out, every taxi and Uber driver will be busier than ever. We've got all of the tourists who come here for the rugby won't only go to the rugby. They'll do a couple of other things while they're here. They might spend a few days going to neighbouring towns, even to Stellenbosch and so on. And some of them may even spend longer than that, a week either side of the rugby, and really see all that Cape Town has to offer. So really just the rugby tournament is the most important part of it, but that's the magnet. That's what gets people to Cape Town, and once they're here, they just have a huge injection into the local economy, which supports so many tourism jobs.
Tourism is the bedrock of what the city does. Yeah. It is, however, a problem when you have a number of people living on the streets and having come to Cape Town over different periods of time. I've seen an increase just myself personally of the tents along the side of the roads on some of the most iconic routes in Cape Town. What is the city doing about that?
So it's a very good question. The first thing that people need to understand is that in South Africa you cannot remove a single person from any structure without a court order, without an eviction order issued by a high court. And to ask for that, you have to be able to show that you can provide alternative accommodation. So when I came into office, I set about answering that question by building alternative accommodation. We're currently in construction on 150 million rands worth of new shelter beds for homeless people in Cape Town. And we are busy doing one-on-one assessments with each one of them to see what help we can offer, whether it be addiction treatment, drug and alcohol addiction, psychiatric care, job placement programs, even something as simple as getting an ID book for someone so that they can get the SASSA grant. All of that is currently happening. Where people will voluntarily take up alternative accommodation, we obviously help them do that. Where they refuse to take up alternative accommodation, we have to act to protect those public spaces and keep them open, accessible, safe, clean for the public. And so then we do have to be able to approach the court and say to the court that, here is this very dignified, very caring alternative accommodation, which we call our safe spaces, city-owned safe spaces, and now you have to be able to give us permission to get those people into the safe spaces.
So that program is ongoing. I'm sure you would have hoped that it would have been much further along, especially now with an influx of tourists. We're going into the December period as well, which naturally brings a lot more visitors into the city of Cape Town. And then, of course, next year it's the Netball World Cup. When do you expect that you will have more of a handle on it, or do you feel that you've got a handle on the situation currently?
No, I mean, I think it's one of the things that is most tricky to deal with in the city. I don't think that we have a handle on it. I think that we have a clear plan, and we're busy executing that plan. But you're right, everything takes longer than we'd like. We have to build the alternative accommodation first before you can do anything else, and that's what we are busy doing right now. And doing the individual assessments, of course, going to do the one-on-one interviews with every single person who's living on the street. We do have a number of huge sporting events coming to the city, not just the Netball World Cup, but we've got the HSBC Rugby Sevens in December. We've got our first, and this is very exciting, our first Formula E race happening in the city around the stadium next March. And so actually visitors this week will see that there's some roadworks happening around the stadium, and that is to prepare for the Formula E race that's coming. So we've got some giant events coming, and it's just exciting that Cape Town is really positioning itself as the centerpiece of these events in South Africa.
I remember when the city wanted to, once upon a time, host the Olympic Games with the variety of different sports that you guys are now showing that you can host quite easily. Is that something that's on the cards?
The trouble with events on that scale is that they require enormous amounts of public funding. And given the other pressing needs that we have in the city in poverty, in infrastructure, in safety and job creation and so on, it's a really tough case to make to spend billions of rands on a sporting event. These events that we are attracting take almost no or very, very little investment from the city. They are attracted here because we have a events ecosystem. Any price tag starts with billions. Billions and billions, and so that's just not on the cards for us right now, unless it were to come with a really big check from national government that could say that they would support the costs. Then we could talk about it.
What is the most that the city has spent on a sporting event?
I have absolutely no idea. The most that we spend is for the Tweede Nuwe Jaar, which is the Cape Minstrels, that runs into several millions every year. And on sporting events like the big rugby test matches and so on, there's big costs in terms of traffic services, lots of extra traffic officers. That's hundreds of thousands, if not, maybe just touching R1 million for a major international test match. But other than that, it's not, unmanageable amounts of money that the city invests in these events.
Finally, I understand that you're going to go and meet the captains, or you have met the captains on a couple of the teams. Okay, later on today. And I've seen you kick a rugby ball every now and again. So are you going to be getting involved, doing a little bit of warm-up with some of the teams?
I hope so. I am an old rugby player. You'll have to take that as an article of faith, but I do enjoy kicking the ball around once in a while. Certainly better than my golf skills, if you look at my video from the Nelson Mandela Golf Day last week.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. That's the Mayor of Cape Town, Geordin Hill-Lewis, speaking to us about the Rugby World Cup Sevens, which is going to be hosted here in the city of Cape Town, starting on Friday, but the festivities have already started earlier on this week.